Fans from across Canada are in Winnipeg for a Grey Cup weekend. The Ottawa Red Blacks and the Edmonton Eskimos will battle for the title tomorrow. 28,000 fans are expected at the sold-out game. But our next guest won't be cheering for the Eskimos. Instead, he's calling for the team to change its name. So Natan Obed is president of the Inuit organization that is Canada's national Inuit organization, and he joins us from Ottawa. So questions about the team's name and other teams' name, of course, have been raised in the past, but Inuit groups have never joined the debate. Why are you calling for the team to change its name now?
Well, there are three reasons, really. Inuit have described ourselves as Inuit since the 1970s when we mobilized to really take back control of our lives and our destiny. Eskimos was never the term that we used to describe ourselves, and now we're getting into a new generation, and I think that it's time to reconsider the use of the term Eskimos in our society. Secondly, there's a larger movement for Indigenous peoples calling for all Indigenous mascots for sports teams to be removed. And so we want to join that fight. I want to be in solidarity with all the Indigenous peoples who are calling for an end to Indigenous peoples as sports mascots. Thirdly, this is about reconciliation. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has come out with 94 calls to action, and among those calls to action calls for a new relationship between Indigenous people and Canadians. And I think this is part of that healing process, part of that understanding of where we are in 2015 is very different than where we were in 1950 or 1897 when the Eskimos' name was first originated.
Now, I guess you've heard many of the responses, one of which is the people who say the name is benign and it's associated with Inuit strength and spirit. What would your response be to those people?
I'd say that we're not a mascot. Even if people don't intend for the name to have any negative connotations, we have to start looking at the bigger picture. And Indigenous peoples are not the ones that created this name. And we haven't chosen to align ourselves with this football team. Actually, I don't think there's a football field in all of Inuit Nunangat. So the idea that non-Indigenous people get to create Indigenous identities as mascots for entertainment is a very outdated idea. And I think in 2015, at this time, we need to have conversations about the relationship we have as Inuit with Canadians, but also as, in the larger picture, Indigenous people within Canada. And I don't think there's room for Indigenous peoples to be used as sports mascots for the entertainment of the general Canadian population.
Now, we reached out to the team. Its response was the following, and I'm going to quote from this. Our team is currently focusing on the Grey Cup and not publicly commenting until the game and related events are concluded, at which time we would welcome direct and face-to-face meetings with the organization concerned. So, what's your response? Would you sit down? Would you want to talk to them? And if you did, what would you tell them?
That's excellent that there is an opportunity for dialogue. I would most definitely want to sit down with the ownership group there and talk about why this might be the time to change the moniker that Edmonton uses for its CFL franchise. I don't think that this has to be as polarizing or as negative as people might think. I'm somebody who's played sports at a high level. I'm a sports fan. I understand the deep passion that people have towards anything related to the teams that they follow. I'm not trying to undermine anybody's fun. I'm also not saying that anyone did anything wrong in the past. I'm saying that as we move forward as a society, I think that Edmonton has a great opportunity to honor Indigenous people and also to be forward-thinking and forward-looking about how we respect one another in this day and age.
We've certainly seen this in active debate in the United States, of course, the banning of the use of the tomahawk chop at Atlanta Braves games, a number of organizations not wanting to refer to the Washington football team by its current name as the Redskins. So you're now bringing this debate to this country. What kind of response have you gotten from other people about your request?
There are a lot of people who would see this as frivolous or politically correct, but I invite people into a conversation. And there are even Inuit that are completely fine with the use of the term Eskimos. in the context of the Edmonton CFL team. I'm trying to bring us forward in our debate and our discussion about how we as Inuit fit within Canada, how we would like to be treated, and how society interacts with Indigenous peoples in general. The idea that we can be okay with a term that we don't use in our society to be used every day in the sports pages and have it be completely disassociated with any sort of harmful effects, I think is a little bit naive. Words matter, and we don't call ourselves Eskimos. I would be offended if somebody called me an Eskimo, and I totally understand that people in Edmonton and CFL fans across the country aren't wanting to offend Inuit. All I'm saying is that there's a bigger conversation and a place that we need to get to in reconciliation, and this is a part of that process.
And we certainly appreciate you coming on News Network to say that. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Obed.
You're welcome.
Natan Obed is the president of Canada's National Inuit Organization. He spoke to us from Ottawa.